Welcome back, Year 9, to your 10th lesson on your World War module. The driving question for today's lesson will be, why did the USA join World War II? We have moved on from looking at the failings of the Nazis to invade the Soviet Union and expending a lot of time and resources in attempting to do so, and are today going to be focusing on the bombing of Pearl Harbor and how this precipitated the US to become involved in a conflict they had tried their very best to stay out of as much as possible. The first thing I would like you to do, however, as I will ask in all of these lessons, is to complete the Knowledge Organizer quiz labelled L10 Knowledge Organizer Quiz in order to recap your learning from last lesson. Please pause the video now to complete this. As you can see in front of you, you have a Google Maps image and a Google Maps picture of which I have pinpointed the nation of Hawaii. This was where Pearl Harbor was located. Now, as you can see, the question says, why might the location of Hawaii potentially cause tension? Well, on the left-hand side, you have the nation of Japan, as you can see just left of the dotted line. On the right-hand side, you have the United States, which Hawaii is a state of. So Hawaii is owned by the United States. Okay? I would like you to consider why you think the location of Hawaii in the North Pacific Ocean might cause tension between these two nations. The Japanese saw the military base at Pearl Harbor as the pinnacle to the best of America's military supremacy in the Pacific Ocean. If a catastrophic blow could be struck against America at Pearl Harbor, then the Japanese thought that America would pull out of the region, leaving it free for the Japanese to continue their expansion in the Far East. Now, as Japan was busy building up its empire in Asia, having Hawaii under their control would ensure that they had excellent control over the Pacific Ocean for trade and strategic positioning. So there really is a high incentive for Japan to go for the Hawaiian base of Pearl Harbor and to strike and take it from the Americans. What I would now like you to do is to watch the video entitled Pearl Harbor USS Oklahoma The Final Story, which can be found in the material labelled L10 PowerPoint and Videos. Whilst watching the video, I would like you to answer the questions which can be found in the assignment entitled L10 Task Sheet under Task 1. Please pause the video now to complete this. What I would now like you to do is to complete the table below, which you can find in the assignment labelled L10 Task Sheet under Task 2. What you are going to need to do is to complete the table, creating notes on Pearl Harbor based on the information we are about to go through. You are going to need to fill in the categories of US position pre-Pearl Harbor, the Japanese position pre-Pearl Harbor, 4 causes of Pearl Harbor, what the consequences of Pearl Harbor were, what the US casualty figures were, some interesting facts, and how the US recovered from the attack. We are going to go through information that you will need to fill out your table in each category. To ensure that you aren't just copying information, I have mixed up some of the pieces of information that you need. So it will be your job to work out what category each piece of information we will be looking at goes into. Your best bet will be to listen or read each piece of information and then locate the correct category on your table and pause the video after each slide to fill in the table as we go. Please pause the video now to locate this table. Isolationism. Many people in America thought that it shouldn't get involved in a European war again. When Britain declared war on Germany, America did not join either side. So the idea of isolationism is that you isolate yourselves from conflicts outside of your nation and you stay domestically, so you only stay inside your nation. And as we can see from this cartoon on the right hand side, this was created by a well-known author known as Dr. Seuss, and it says, ho hum, when he's finished picking down that last tree, he'll quite likely be tired. And this was the mentality that America was trying to promote at this time. All these other nations, all these other trees are being pecked down and attacked by this angry little bird, this angry little Hitler bird with a swastika on it. Okay? And the idea that Americans think that the war won't come to them, that Hitler and the Nazis won't attack their tree because he'll probably be tired by then. It's a very risky game to play because he could attack at any minute and he might not be tired. But that was the sort of thinking at the time, and that was the idea that this cartoonist, Dr. Seuss, was trying to get across with this political statement. Japan invades French Indochina. As you can see on the map on the right, French Indochina is next to Siam, near Burma, just underneath China, and just above what we would now call Malaysia. The USA doesn't like this, so they demand Japan leaves, otherwise they'll stop sending oil to Japan, which Japan is desperate for. The USA demands that Japan leaves China, which it has invaded partially, as you can see with the red part of the map, and leave their alliance with Germany and Italy, and in return they will agree to discuss a trade agreement to send oil to Japan. Now Japan sees this as a choice between giving in or going to war. The Japanese reportedly had declared war prior to the attack on Pearl Harbor, but the message never got to the US president. The entire attack lasted just under 2 hours. The Japanese attacked on a Sunday morning because they thought the US soldiers would be less alert at this time. Every president since President Roosevelt has visited the Pearl Harbor Memorial Site. The Japanese had hoped the attack would demoralize the USA, but instead it united them as this shocked their general public, as they knew they could not ignore this attack. 3 days later, Japan's allies Germany and Italy declared war on the USA, and the USA had officially joined World War II. The Japanese had missed a number of important facilities such as oil storage depots and repair yards in their aerial bombardment of Pearl Harbor. There were 2 officers wounded, 0 dead officers, but 21 missing officers. There were 24 wounded crew, 22 dead crew, but 385 officially missing crew, giving us a total of 26 wounded, 22 dead, and 406 missing, with a large number of them most likely dead as well, but they can't officially be called that if they have never been identified or their bodies have never been found. Of the missing, 35 crew members were positively identified and buried. Unidentified remains of approximately 400 men from the USS Oklahoma, which was their major ship at the time, at Pearl Harbor, are still being worked on to identify them to this day. Japan decided that war with the USA was inevitable, as the Americans had been demanding that Japan withdraw from China for years. Perhaps the Japanese felt that they should make the first attack, while the USA were still not really ready. To expand its empire in Asia and become unstoppable, Japan needed to get rid of the US Navy in the Pacific. Many Japanese soldiers and civilians thought of the USA as a land of film stars and gangsters. Its soft people would be no match for the Japanese armed forces. President Roosevelt deliberately provoked Japan into attacking because then this would provide the perfect excuse to bring the USA into the war against Hitler. So you have to work out which category this falls under in your table. What I would now like you to do is to watch the video entitled President Franklin D. Roosevelt Declares War on Japan, full speech, which can be found in the material labeled L10 PowerPoint and Videos. On Sunday morning at 8 a.m., December 7th, this happened. As we can see here, there has been an enormous explosion, with the first few torpedoes and bombs hit, causing great plumes of smoke and fire lighting up the early morning sky. And again, we can see just how devastating this attack was, and actually how unexpected it was as well, with sailors standing around in shock with the aerial and naval bombardment occurring. The huge black plumes of smoke filled the sky as the Japanese targeted large American naval vessels such as the USS Oklahoma, which has become infamous in US military history as this was the only vessel that was too badly damaged to return to duty. Now, what I would like you to do is to go back into L10 task sheet Under Task 3, I'm filling the table for this task by selecting what you believe to be the 5 most significant factors, the 5 most important reasons for why you think Japan carried out the Pearl Harbor attack, and in no more than one sentence, justify why you put your most and least significant factors where you did. Japan wanted to build a strong empire in Asia. Japan had appointed a warlike general as Prime Minister. Japan believed the Americans would not fight back. Japan believed a war with America was inevitable and wished to strike first. Japan needed raw materials like oil and could only get this by invading more land in Southeast Asia. The Japanese were naive and hadn't thought through the consequences. Japan was already at war with China. America provoked Japan into war by making impossible demands of it. So, what I would like you to do now is to give this exam question a go. You can locate this exam question in the document labelled L10 exam question. Your job will be to write an account of how the USA joined World War II, and this will be for 8 marks. If you follow this checklist and explain and describe in detail for each of the ticks, you should be in line to receive 4 marks. You need to state that the USA was following a policy of isolationism, which you've already gone through what that is. Explain what isolationism means. Describe a feature of the attack on Pearl Harbor. Describe the damage it did. Describe a feature of the attack on Pearl Harbor. Describe the damage it did. Explain how Americans felt about the attack. And explain why this led to war, and eventually why the USA would join the Second World War. Please pause the video now to complete this. So, our final task for today, Year 9, will be to complete an exit ticket, which will be a very brief knowledge quiz to ensure that you have understood some of the key points from this lesson. This exit ticket can be found in L10 exit ticket and will take the same format to your knowledge organizer quizzes. So, well done on making it through today's lesson, Year 9. And as usual, if you do have any questions about the tasks or the topic, please email your teacher who will reply to you as and when they can. We hope that you have all been enjoying this glorious weather we've been having, and also enjoying our in-depth analysis of the major turning points in World War II, to hopefully improve your understanding of events that you may have heard of but didn't know too much about.